The cooperation with China is the only wise choice because cooperation benefits both to all the stakeholders. But the confrontation and the conflict will only lead to one loser, that is the one who have started. China will not challenge the United States and the West or threat. China would like to become the partners of all the countries. Europe should not only to be independent of strategy, but also the determination and courage of independent strategy, as well as the actions. Do not follow by others, and do not sacrifice your own interest for others' benefit, or suffer yourselves. So the future of Europe will be better. The China-EU relationship will also become better.
As we celebrate the 50th anniversary of the Shanghai Communique, let our leaders replicate the wisdom of Mao, Zhou Enlai, President Nixon, and Secretary Kissinger. Take up some of the suggestions I have just made and make the 21st century a more peaceful and prosperous one for all.
Under the strong influence of the U.S. hegemonic realist policy orientation, we must face the reality that strategic competition has become the dominant facet of Sino-U.S. relations.
We have high hopes to have the U.S. and Chinese leaders meeting in person in November, and how important it is that they meet frequently and send out a signal of some kind of constructive relationship so that others in both countries can start to find their way back to a more productive relationship. And I think we need to demand that there be more inclusivity, more tolerance.
We should be aware that Asia-Pacific region is always for development and cooperation. It is not a chessboard, especially against the background of the pandemic. Economic recovery is still the priority. The consensus of all the countries have always been about development.
I think while we try to further expand the size of SCO in the wider area, we are trying to explore the new methods to address the increasing confrontations in the world right now. This is one of the advantages of SCO.
Competition perhaps is not a bad thing. Healthy competition promotes and fosters an environment of cooperation, sharing of ideas, and mutual learning leading to higher achievements. However, it is when competition turns into rivalry and a quest for absolute dominance at the expense of others that the problem begins.
Global challenges require global solutions, found only through the spirit of multilateralism.
In order to ensure respect towards the interests of all our neighbors, all our dialogue partners, and the big powers in this region, we need the full support of the ASEAN centrality. An ASEAN-centered, open, and inclusive regional cooperation architecture is an important cornerstone for the region's long-term peace and prosperity.
The competition between China and the United States for the 100 years, our focal point is on economy, and Southeast Asia and Hong Kong can play a very important role. China and Europe are both promoters and beneficiaries of globalization. Both sides have no direct conflicts of interest and are willing to promote multilateralism cooperation and oppose unilateralism. We would like to promote free trade and oppose trade protectionism, and we would like to promote political and peaceful resolution of regional conflicts and promote the global climate change solution and carbon neutrality goals. China and Europe can fully inject more positive energy of peace and stability into this turbulent world.
For Europe, it is desirable to have a multipolar world alongside the interests of China and the USA, in which the interests of Europe, the interests of Africa, of South America, of India have their own weight and are balanced within a common fair regulatory framework.
So it's going to take a lot of time and persistence and cool-headed diplomacy and politicians to seriously sit down and to invest in trust. So, we have to get out of this downward spiral because there are not going to be any winners. There's only going to be losers.
And during the Cold War, European people have taken the mission of NATO as 3 sentences. What is NATO for? NATO is to block Russians, to keep Americans, but also to control Germans. When the Ukraine war in February this year, that US has taken this opportunity to take control of Europe. So, and the core of Europe, that is between Germany and France, these 2 countries are having a dividing line. Therefore, the US is playing Europe with more ease.
We are witnessing a transition from a unipolar to a multipolar world. This movement resembles a path along a mountain path which ultimately should lead to a wide, high road. On this path, regional organizations play an increasingly prominent role.
The world economy is witnessing profound changes. A stable and healthy bilateral relations is beneficial to the whole world, and the 2 sides work together to promote pragmatic cooperation between the 2 sides. So we can better address the uncertainties in the world.
Asia-Pacific cooperation, the most promising way to somehow put cooperative motivations move ahead of motivations of narrow competition.
The Europe is now having a lot of internal crises and also external confrontations. So if we cannot spend this winter in a smooth way, then there will be more chaos in Europe.